There have been a lot of ups and downs, pros and cons, good and bad when it comes to this series. But overall, it's been an enjoyable time, and I'm very excited for the finale, especially after watching this episode. Despite the runtimes getting shorter, it never felt like it, as the episode was still packed with big character moments. It didn't have a huge action sequence like the last episode, but there was enough to maintain the pacing and not have the entire episode feel the same. The episode picks up almost immediately after the last, with Fury arriving at the hospital with the president, and it immediately reminds us of the stakes and the lasting impact from the attack. Between the president in critical condition and Fury trying to tell him about Rhodes being a Skrull, the scene has a very urgent feel to it, which I thought was a good way to start off the episode. It doesn't ease into anything here, we just jump straight into it. And then when Rhodey finally arrives to see the president, it's a very tense scene between him and Fury, now that Fury has made it obvious that he knows about Rhodey being a Skrull. It is kind of hard to watch as an audience member, or maybe uncomfortable is a better word, when we see the Skrull imposter continue to get away with this deception, while Fury has to go run off and hide because of the leaked Maria Hill footage. We know the truth, and there's a few people in the show that know it, but because of the Skrull's ability to shapeshift and all, there's no way to convince anyone. We go back to the Skrull compound, where we learn that the harvest being spoken of earlier in the series is a sample of Avengers' DNA, which Gravik wants to get a hold of for more superpowers. This episode did a really good job of focusing in on Gravik as a leader, and how ruthless he is. We saw him in actual combat last episode, well here we see him kill Pagan for speaking out against him, and then later on when there's a small mutiny, we finally get to see him in his actual Skrull skin, which I think made him much more terrifying. The new recruit Beto's belief in the cause was shaken by Gravik's behavior, killing Pagan and all, so him and a few others tried to kill Gravik, but he's completely capable of defending himself, even when the numbers aren't in his favor. We've seen him use the Flora Colossus powers from Groot and the Extremis powers, but my guess is he also has Collapsidian strength, because it looked like he got a bit of a burst of strength when he was being beaten on the table. We got to see a lot more of Sonya in this episode too, and I'm very thankful for that. Despite this series focusing on Fury and the Skrulls, she's easily been my favorite new character to come out of the series, and because of her role as an SIS member, she has the ability to appear in other Marvel stories that are more grounded on Earth but global stories, like maybe something with the new Captain America film. Her scenes are always fun to watch, because the character has a fun demeanor to her in a twisted sense, where she enjoys the violence and doesn't take anything too seriously. Her lighthearted character contrasts everything else in the series. After the Red Notice comes out for Fury, he meets up with her in Finland, but before that, we get a nice connection to the Black Widow movie. Although the movie doesn't take up much space in my mind, it was nice to see the plane guy back here. It was a nice connection that didn't feel forced at all. It makes sense that Fury would know the same guy as Natasha Romanoff, heck he may have been the one to pass the contact on to her. He's the guy that heroes go to when they need off-the-book supplies and passage. It didn't focus too much on him other than that one scene, but it was still a nice little Easter egg to include rather than having to be a brand new person. This way fans that recognize him from the Black Widow movie don't need the explanation of why this person is helping him rather than turning him in. Fury travels to Finland where he meets up with Sonya, and we get an explanation regarding the DNA and really why Gravik is doing all of this with his powers in the invasion. It really is all Fury's fault, because he involved the Skrulls in the undercover business, like collecting these DNA samples, and then was unable to fulfill his promise of finding them a new home. We got an official reason a few episodes back for why there weren't any superheroes in the series, when Fury was talking with Rhodes, but here we got a very deep personal reason from Fury, about not always relying on them to solve all the problems. We got a lot of very personal moments with Fury in this episode, and this is the fleshing out of the character that I was hoping to get from the series. We've gotten to see more of his human, emotional, vulnerable side. Like when we meet Gaia in the one safe house earlier on in the episode. It isn't done in big spurts, but it's small moments that make him more than just a badass director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Gaia also had a decent role in this episode, and although I wouldn't say I'm any closer to her now than I was before, I think the acting done by her to convey emotion was done very well. In between her reaction to everything, and the Skrull funeral, which lets us see a little more of Skrull culture, it all did a lot to add more emotion to Talos' death beyond the very quick moment from the last episode, right before it cut to the credits. What did you think of the 5th episode of Secret Invasion? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for more MCU content, and remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.